Welcome, Chakra Collective, to another empowering episode of Chakras and Cuss Words, where we blend spiritual insight with a dose of real talk. Whether you're here to deepen your chakra knowledge, explore the cosmos, or you just need a place to vibe with like-minded souls, you're in the right space. Let's dive into today's journey of energy, empowerment, and a little bit of cosmic chaos. I am so glad you're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a Chakras and Cuss Words podcast. My name is Catherine, and I am your podcast host. Okay, so we're going to have some brutal honesty right now. And I will tell you, this is the second time I recorded this episode because I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, and also because I've been kind of contemplating some of the things that I am going to tell you. I'm definitely rearranging the format of my podcast. And for some people, you might like it. For some people, you might not like it. But it is going to be probably a little bit less content than what you're used to. And that's just basically for my own well-being, right? You kind of have to practice what you preach. Can't go out here preaching everything and you're not practicing it, honey. So I am going to kind of take a little bit of a step back. I definitely want to finish the astrology series, and I might change the format of that where the podcasts aren't so long. Kind of like the episode that you got from the villain era. I really like that, and I really like being focused on those type of topics. And I kind of think that is what the format of my podcast is going to kind of be like for a while until I decide to shift or evolve again. I don't think I will be releasing astrology dates anymore, just because it's very, very time consuming for me to keep up with all the reflections and also like some of the upcoming dates. For the most part, like I said, I'm not an astrologer. I do like astrology and I do look up astrology and I talk about the zodiacs and astrology a lot, but I don't want that to be the main focus of my podcast. And I think that's going to be okay. I think that's going to be okay because I feel like the astrology has kind of like taken over the podcast, and there's a part of me that kind of want to step back from that, get back into the chakras, get back into other things and areas of energy for the most part. So let's look at the movement of October. And I'll be honest, I was like, what the fuck? October is literally over. And October was such a great month. It really was. It had a lot of good energy. I didn't really feel like I was in a complete autumn bliss, just because California's weather is so weird. But let's talk about some of the things that really stood out. So, of course, the presidential debate. Can you believe that we are literally right around the corner of the next election? It just seems mind-boggling that we're already having another election and our candidates are Harris and Trump, which vote for whoever you want, right? Do what you do, boo. And then we just really have been feeling like a lot of energy around national and also worldwide disasters. We had the Hurricane Milton and also Helene, which did cause a lot of turmoil, a lot of devastation to the coast, especially in Florida. I guess Taylor decided to donate some money. And that kind of like occurred right around October 9th when Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini. That is kind of when we saw that movement. Lots of tension with the Middle East still. Iran has entered the chat. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Doesn't sound like it. But people are still very conflicted in what it is that they see as, I guess you could say that they see as prominent for the U.S. Like, should the U.S. continue to send money? I believe troops are now down in the areas of Gaza, U.S. troops. So people are very conflicted with how they feel. There was a post trending, and it was like Genocide Joe, which doesn't really paint a good picture of that leadership that he had. A lot of people are very upset that they feel that they are funding genocide. So that was definitely a topic. Then also right around the beginning of October, we had Venus in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces, and we had Jaguar right on Piers Morgan, and she was talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z. A lot of people believe she's a conspiracy theorist. I do think there's definitely some truth to her stories, but I do think that she adds a little bit more seasoning. She adds a little bit more flavor, and she definitely adds a little bit of, like, what is that word? She exaggerates just to, like, she is an amazing storyteller. Just the way she tells the story, her vocal presence, and her excitability in the stories that she is telling, you're like, I fucking believe her. You're like, the Illuminati must go down. And, I don't, like I said, this is all allegations, accusations of what has happened in the hip hop industry. And she's been somebody who has been there. So basically, Jay-Z and Beyonce weren't really feeling this. And they sent like a cease and desist kind of to Piers Morgan, basically saying for him to take down that podcast or edit that section out. And he did do a public apology, but I just think that it's very interesting that she is now hitting mainstream. So it's gonna definitely open up some area of what's next. Right around, also, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn, and Miss Bianca Censori is a Capricorn. We see that her and Kanye had split rumors, like they were going to break up, supposedly, and filing for divorce, but they have not done so. And actually, we've seen them out there together since then. Then we also had Elon Musk. He's a funky individual. I honestly think that he is going to be a technology revolutionary when we look at that area of who he is and how he's introduced the electric cars and how he's introduced so much of technology that's really seen out of this world. I think he's going to continue this. He's showcased his robots that a lot of people believe are a bootleg sample of iRobot from that movie with Will Smith. And it does get a little creepy when you start to think about like the Neuralink and areas of AI taking out so many jobs. AI has taken out a lot of jobs, and we can't say it hasn't, because it has. It's already taken out. We see that there was a possible huge strike with the labor shoremen out in, like, I believe New York or New Jersey or somewhere like that, and the shoremen do not play. And one of the things that was in their contract was basically AI. They wanted to make sure there was some type of regulation on technology. Like, is this going to take out our jobs? And also around like the North Carolinas and South Carolina, that we saw that the shoremen were really focused on AI. And there's a bunch of controversies and conspiracies that are linked to that. I definitely say do your research when you are researching certain subjects that have to do with like the workforce, because you could see that technology, as it advances, there is a high possibility that a technology can replace a human in certain aspects. And we see that pretty often. They now have AI chats on Instagram, they have Chat GPT, they have all kinds of areas that you can use technology to either your advances, or in some ways technology will have its disadvantages. I will say that somebody who is centered in healthcare, it is interesting how much of a revolution there has been with technology in the advances of like creating the vaccine super, super fast. That's very controversial. Most of you guys know I was vaccinated. I got the two mRNAs of Pfizer, the first 2 doses, and then I got my booster. I don't know if I'm going to get any more. And, I just have my reasonings behind it. I don't really want to get into it because I don't want people to think that I'm anti-vax, because I'm not. But, you got to do what's right for you. Personally, I do think that there has been a shift where people want more data, they want more research, they want more information before they trust some of this modern medicine. And I, for the most part, trust modern medicine. Do I want to use tons of drugs? Not necessarily. Would I use Ozempic to lose weight? It depends. If I was diabetic, I might. But for the most part, I think I would try to do it as naturally as possible. But for instance, it's very hard to say unless I was in that circumstance, right? I do think that modern technology, when we look at it of taking away that interpersonal space, we see that there has been a shift, right? Even with the nurses. Now nurses are being replaced with patients who are going home with doing home antibiotics, and they're being monitored. They're sending their vital signs to the doctor. So this energy of technology has been continuing to increase, and I definitely think it will continue to increase for the next 20 years. I definitely think there is going to be a shift with the collective as a whole. I do think that there is a huge component that in some ways is taking out the small business owner, is taking out the middleman, and making everything more feasible for these corporations and corporate giants, where the middleman is sometimes the person who is doing the actual physical labor, or the person who is entering the data, stuff like that. And technology is allowing them to take it out. And that is something that Elon is showing by promoting these robots. He's saying that the robots are basically able to take care of your kids. You could like, hey, I want to go out. Let me just have my robot take care of my kids. They could drive you around. We see the cars, the cars in San Francisco, the self-driving cars. I don't even know what they're called. I went to San Francisco this weekend, and I was just kind of blown away. You could see there's a lot of foot traffic of police officers because San Francisco was getting very, very rowdy. And a lot of people were stealing mass amount of quantities out of stores. And we see a lot of police officers basically doing foot patrol. There's like guards with guns in front of like a lot of the luxury stores. So it seems like they're trying to promote people to shop back in San Francisco without feeling nervous, and showing that they are concerned about the public's overall safety. So we will see. But I definitely think that AI and robots definitely are going to continue to make movement, and it might take out a lot more jobs. Also, one of the things that is interesting is like with nursing, the AI is definitely, and the monitoring the patients at home, and having a nurse who's like checking on them via webcam, or a nurse that is like a robot because they don't have staff. It's not that they don't have staff, it's they don't want to have staff. There's a difference, right? And same with like the AI or the robot bartender. The robot bartender isn't asking you for like a 20% tip. The robot bartender is probably making their drinks, serving it to you, and you think it's so cool. But we're forgetting that there's a human who used to do that job. So I definitely feel like there's going to be a shift. I definitely feel that people need to get a little bit more creative when they are looking at their energies of jobs. But yeah, there are certain things that robots are just not going to be able to replace. Like, for the most part, we need nurses, we need physicians, we need doctors, we need labor, we need people who work in like carpentry, welding. I mean, as of now, they haven't invented robots to take that over, but who knows with Elon Musk and his damn robot nation. And that kind of was all kind of taking place right around October 13th, Mercury enters Scorpio. And what's also interesting is I was hearing rumors that there's a possibility that he might have a robot who's going to carry a baby. Okay, that's freaking creepy. As a mother, as somebody who maybe couldn't have kids for whatever reason, couldn't carry children, I could see how they would want to do that, but I would hope that people would not do that just for reasons of like not messing up your body or something like that. But who knows, right? Who knows with the energy that shifts with the collective, out of vein, that people would do that. But if there was a high chance that somebody might have a very hard labor, or for whatever reason, carrying a child for full term just wasn't feasible, and then you now have a robot that carries a baby, like in a little incubator, like in a little fake womb. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I just feel like it takes away a lot of the personable energy of the mother and the child, but who knows what's going on in this world. Also, I will say that for the most part, I didn't pay too much attention on a lot of the topics that were going around. The Diddy case is just forever evolving. It's just getting creepier and creepier each day, each case that he comes out, more lawsuits. It's just worse and worse each time some story unravels. But let's look at the astrology dates for November. November 1st, we have a new moon in Scorpio. And I feel like with a new moon in Scorpio, you definitely want to look at your area of transformation, that Pluto energy of closing certain chapters. Maybe that's why I have like this high drive of like rearranging my podcast a little bit and cutting back, because I want to work on myself and certain things that are aged and centered around moving to a new purpose and embracing like more possibilities and more areas of transformation and overall living in your most desired state, right? Then on November 2nd, we have Mercury enter Sagittarius, which feels super vibrant. It also feels like super centered on travel and philosophy and making wise choices, and also looking at media and how media portrays and what it is that you can do towards creating energies of receiving and also releasing in areas of communication. And then we have on November 3rd, Juno enters Scorpio. November 3rd is a very high astrology day. We have Venus in Sagittarius, opposition Jupiter in Gemini, Mars in Cancer, opposing Pluto in Capricorn. Definitely an urge to create some movement, especially if you are centered around Leo. We have Mars entering Leo. So for the Leo placements, look how this affects you in your chart. You might feel a spontaneous energy. There might be more areas of drama, but look at that energy. Then we have Venus enters Capricorn, which Venus enters Capricorn. I feel like there's going to be some structure around relationships, also finances and businesses, and that area of legacy. So see that where that plays out with you. Also, we have Saturn goes direct in Pisces. Saturn goes direct in Pisces feels like about fucking time. I want to talk about this one story that I heard about. I saw a little video on it, and I have also seen a lot of other content creators talk about it. It was about a mother who went to Jamaica on a voodoo, basically like a voodoo retreat. She joined like a voodoo online community, and she wanted to become like a voodoo high priestess. And she called her son when she got to Jamaica, or she sent him a message and was basically like, I'm here. But then she told him, like, you won't hear from me for about a week. Then the son basically said that he did not hear from his mom for a week past, and he was starting to get a little nervous. And then all of a sudden, a death certificate came, and it is believed that she lost her life in Jamaica. I don't know if it was part of her being in this voodoo retreat, because there was no cause on the death certificate. But it just sounds very scary. And it also sounds like very like we have to be conscious about who it is that we trust, especially in these spiritual streets. These spiritual streets can be fucking crazy and off the hook. We have to have a little bit area of caution. I've never been a huge fan of spiritual retreats for multiple reasons. A lot of it had to do with I don't feel aligned with a lot of the people who go to spiritual retreats for different reasons. I don't know. It's never really been my thing. I always felt like it was kind of like an attention grab or a money grab, and I also felt like it was also centered around like this false notion that you're looking at somebody else to kind of guide you in your spiritual process. Also, I have a huge conflict when some of these spiritual retreats are done on indigenous land. For instance, like when people go to like Costa Rica and they take ayahuasca and then they're freaking going a little kooky, and I don't know. To me, that's not what spirituality is really centered in. Like, I definitely think that yes, you can learn stuff from certain people, but having your own center process and seeing it as your own movement and energy shift is really in the eye of the beholder, in the soul of that solar capsule. So for me, it's not really my thing. If it's your thing, more power to you. But just be cautious when you are receiving information from others. Be cautious when you join certain spiritual collectives, certain religious collectives too, certain certain large groups. They get very culty like really quick. And what's interesting is right around this time that we're talking about this, on November 12th, Saturn goes direct in Pisces. And I think that really kind of is going to start to show a shift of the process of awakening and having a little bit more stronger boundaries with energies of spirituality and our consciousness. Also, it is a time to create towards the root chakra and the lower chakras when Saturn does go direct into Pisces. Yes, we can have our energy of dreams and fantasies and multiple dimensions and movement, but we also want to remind ourselves to stay grounded and stay present here on Earth. And then on November 15th, we have full moon in Taurus. I would say this is a money moon. This feels like a money moon to me. So I would be looking at moon magic towards money, honey, and wealth, and looking at the budget, maybe saving, investing a little bit towards yourself, and also maybe investing towards the area of possibilities for not just this year, but also the year of 2025. Maybe people are starting their Christmas shopping right around this full moon. So stick to the budget, or acknowledge what the budget is, but also you want to be mindful to also treat yourself and give yourself a little bit of love back into that piece of it when you are centered around spending, and you are centered around giving gratitude. It's so easy, right? It's so easy to just go crazy. And a lot of time the stuff we buy, people isn't necessarily what they need. They need like the I love yous. They need the you matter to me. I'm proud of you. I love being with you. I enjoy spending time with you. They love the gifts, I'm sure, right? The gifts kind of that energy of appreciation. But for the most part, I think people need more of the moments that matter, that are driven through the energy of the heart chakra, and also the energy of knowing that you matter to other people. On November 19th, we have Pluto enters Aquarius, and I would say this is the time that we're going to feel that shift of Pluto and change, especially with areas of technology, money. Certain structures are going to continue to fall. Certain lineages, certain areas of movement is going to shift. But for the most part, I do think that there is going to be a little bit of a rebellious nature with the collective. The collective is going to definitely see a new vision. Maybe more people are going to be fighting back against technology. Maybe more people are going to be fighting back against the areas of capitalism. Capitalism is at an all-time high while people are suffering with the increased area of finances. Also on November 21st, we have Sun enter Sagittarius, and then that's a high energy day, as we also have Sun in Sagittarius sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. Then on 25th of November, don't hate me now, hate me later, we have Mercury goes retrograde in Sagittarius. I do want to say with this Mercury goes retrograde in Sagittarius, this is a time that you're going to be cautious when making plans, especially travel plans or plans on destinations that you aren't familiar with. I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just saying do your research. Also, this is a time that you're going to see that you might be looking to sign up for new classes or sign up for new areas of philosophy or research, kind of brainstorming. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you know who you're getting your research from. Also, we have Pallas enters Capricorn on November 30th. And on November 30th, we have a new moon in Sagittarius. So definitely some high energy all the way through the beginning of the month of November to the very, very, very end. Woo! And you know what's so funny is in this month of October, and I'm recording this October 27th around 13:38. And so many people are talking about like the veil is thin, the veil is thin, the veil is thin. I gotta tell you guys this funny little story. I've been enjoying the month of October. I have. It's been a great month. But I don't really understand this whole like the veil is thin. I feel like people who feel the presence of magic and the presence of spirituality, if it's with the spirits, if it's with the ancestors, have always kind of felt that presence. And it's interesting that people talk about like now the veil is thin, but a lot of it has to do with Scorpio season. Scorpio season is like a dark, mystical, mysterious season that makes that energy move forward and kind of transition over to making you see the closing of certain chapters and the areas of the shadow that lay behind the light. The other day, and I talked about this on my Instagram, the other day I was walking my dog Tank. He's a Gemini. He's a little fucker too. He's very hyperactive for a bulldog. I don't know why, but he is. And I was taking him, I think it's because he's a Gemini. He's an air sign. So I was taking him for a walk, and then we see this cat. And this cat does this huge arch in the back and is like going, it just felt like the cat was going to like shape shift into a ninja and kick his ass. I'm like, don't hurt my little dog, kitty. But this cat was like not scared. And it was a black cat. It was a cat that kind of gave me like Scorpio energy. I was like, I don't know this cat zodiac, but I feel like this cat could be a Scorpio. But luckily, Tank was able to survive. He didn't get beat up by this cat. And it just felt very like mystical and magical, the whole scene. And I was like, this is what they mean by the veil is thin. Because I'll be honest, anything can happen any time of the year. 365 days a year, spirits are here. 365 days, energy is here. Yes, this time is a little bit mystical, magical, as it is Saturn with Scorpio season. And some things feel like a shift. It feels like a change. So just be a little bit aware of your surroundings. Be a little bit aware of your presence for the most part, be knowledgeable about what it is that you want to change and what it is that you want to change around you for the last few days of October. I'm definitely been working on my ofrenda for Dias de los Muertos for my family and for the people who've passed. So it's kind of been like very it kind of brings up like that area where you're like sad but happy because you're remembering them, but like printing the photos, I'm gonna go pick them up of like my abuelo and my abuela. It's just so touching, you know, to have that area of reminiscence of people in your life who you were aligned with, especially in the ancestral lineage, in the ancestral makeup. And the ofrenda represents that area of allowing the spirits to come within and greeting them back to the areas of home, the areas of family, the area of movement, seeing the light of the two, of the life and the death, seeing the passage of how we all intertwine together. And I'm even sharing photos of my grandfather, who I've never met. I did meet my grandmother on my mom's side, but I never had a chance to meet my grandfather because he passed at a very young age. He passed at 40, so he was very young. And it's weird because I do feel like a tie, like a direct tied to him. Like I do feel like there is a connection when I look at his photos and just like the stories I've heard, that I see like a lot of some of the similarities of like the dark hair, the pale skin. I don't know if it's necessarily with me, but it is the similarities of the lineage of like my family, my, you know, children's makeup. I see it in him, and then also on my husband's side, and also on my abuela and abuelo side. I see that too. So it's just a very, it's almost like a very peaceful and knowledgeable time to pay homage to not just the shadows, but also the underworld, right? And paying homage. And we don't necessarily know, is it an underworld or is it an above world, or is it a world that's here and now, right? The here and now of the spirit. So yeah, so definitely I feel like the veil is always thin, but then when we are looking at that energy of reminiscence, we see it a little bit more clearer around this time, and maybe that has to do with the Scorpio presence and the tie of the rituals and the passages, you know, especially if you are of a Hispanic or Chicano descent. I'm sure Dia de los Muertos has always been something that has been familiar to you. If not, because many of you guys know I am mixed. My dad is Mexican and my mom is Italian. So the Italian side is like the white side, right? And if it's something that you are learning to like get tied back into some of your ancestral roots, and you do have Latin heritage or indigenous heritage, I would definitely look at that celebration, because it is such a beautiful, beautiful celebration. So I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. Continue to listen to me, even though the energy of the podcast may be shifting. You know, I'm not going to say I'm never going to do an astrology date again. Who knows? Next month I might be like, I really want to talk about the astrology for 2025, or right now I just want to say that I feel like I'm going to be taking a break from the astrology dates, because I want to kind of look at different content that I want to post. I am working on the Menendez, always fuck up on their name, the Menendez brothers birth chart. I have read Lyle's, and I just have not had the chance to fully read Eric's. I know they got a lot of publicity with the Netflix Monsters series, and then also a lot of Netflix documentaries. And I wanted to take a look at their charts. So hopefully that will be coming out soon. The thing is with me is I like making content that I like, and I just don't have enough time to be so structured. So if an astrology date is missing, always research it and find out what's going to happen. But I want to thank you guys so much. I also have that I just released was the villain era, stepping into your villain era. Make sure you give that podcast a listen if you have not listened to it, and let me know what you think, because that is kind of like some of the topics that I like to talk about. And share this with your witchy or spiritual bestie. And everybody have an amazing day. Bye.